everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about how low pancreatic elastase or low enzyme production can often be due to mold or mycotoxin exposure. I've seen this on countless occasions. When people are having issues digesting, you got to ask why. Why is the person not producing sufficient enzymes? Is it because their body's burnt out, or is it because they're being exposed to mycotoxins on a consistent basis? And now their body has been unable to produce sufficient enzymes because it's under so much stress, unable to produce sufficient hormone, etc. And the reality is, this is what I went through myself. So I'm going to explain it in this video. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. This is for informational and educational purposes only. So pancreatic elastase, what is it? Okay, pancreatic elastase is critical to have sufficient amounts of, to be able to break down your proteins and your fats, And if you don't have enough pancreatic elastase in your body, then what's going to happen is you're going to have insufficient enzyme production. You're going to eat foods that are not going to break down fully, and specifically your proteins and your fats, which are harder, more complex to break down. So what do we do when we have low pancreatic elastase, and is this caused by mycotoxins? Well, when you're exposed to mycotoxins, your body ends up producing hormones, enzymes. They're not essential to survive, right? So they stop producing these because they take a lot of energy to produce, and then the body suffers, right? And your digestion suffers, and then you lack the nutrient absorption, and you start to have immune issues because of it, and we eat lots of foods that we don't break down. These foods end up causing leaky gut. We start developing sensitivities to these foods because they're not breaking down, and we have these symptoms exacerbate. So pancreatic elastase, when it's low, can almost, very often is it tied to mycotoxin exposure, current exposure or past exposure, past significant exposure. And to be able to get over this, you have to realize the answer is not just taking digestive enzymes. And I'll tell you why. Digestive enzymes are almost always originated from mold, okay? The digestive enzymes are usually produced from aspergillus, and aspergillus is one of the most toxic molds out there. So if you have a mold sensitivity, a mycotoxin sensitivity, you don't want to be taking digestive enzymes because it can trigger you to start to feel weird. You start to feel a little tingling on the skin, start to feel hyperactivity, start to just feel off within a matter of a week or two. I've seen it with countless people who have had mold toxicity or mycotoxin illness. They try to take these digestive enzymes and they feel worse. Well, what do I do now? I can't break these foods down. What do I do, Matt? I got low pancreatic enzymes and I can't take enzymes. What do I do? You have to realize that and accept the scenario we're in. First, hey, I'm not able to break down the more difficult to break down foods. I'm not able to break down, the harder to digest foods. So let me go ahead and eat foods that are easier to digest. Let me eat more of the fruits that have enzymes in them. Let me eat more vegetables. Let me eat things that aren't cooked to death. They have a little bit of life left in them and enzymes left in them. Let me have some fresh vegetable juices that contain enzymes before my meals to help break things down. Let me make some changes. Let me not just try to throw more supplements at it to fix it. Let me see what I can do to change my lifestyle, my behaviors, my consumption patterns, the foods I'm eating, and see if that makes a difference. Well, if you eat smaller meals more frequently, then you will end up needing less enzymes to be secreted at that time. That'll be one good way to do it. Another thing is you want to go ahead and reduce the amount of meat, animal fats, eggs, dairy, nuts, seeds, gluten, processed food. Those are all the things that require the most enzymatic production, enzymatic effort to break down, okay? If you get rid of those foods, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have foods that are relatively easy to break down. A lot of them are going to contain the natural enzymes that they need to break down on their own, things like fruits, for example, and you will need less enzymes to be produced by your own body. So if you're dealing with the lack of enzymes, you don't want to take more enzymes. You want to eat differently, period, right? Also want to make sure you're not continually living in mycotoxins because this will perpetuate the entire situation. If you want to resolve the enzyme deficiency, you got to get out of the mycotoxins, got to be eating foods that don't compromise our enzyme production, that don't require as many enzymes. And then we got to restore key minerals, okay? Because the minerals are your cofactors to the enzyme production. So things like magnesium, zinc, trace minerals, selenium, all these things affect enzyme production within the body. And if you replace the key minerals, you will restore your enzymatic production, okay? But you don't want to try to restore the key minerals until you get the irritants out of your diet and make sure you're not living in a house full of mold, right? Because if you're still living in a house full of mold and you're taking these supplements, you might react to them. If you're still eating meat twice a day or eggs or things that are really hard to break down and you're taking these supplements, guess what? You're still not going to break the foods down that well. You got to give yourself time away from it and have lower, smaller meals, easier to digest meals, mostly plants. Once you get a little bit of stability there and your body's digesting those things well, okay, let's add the nutrients in then. Let's go ahead and restore those magnesium, zinc, trace mineral levels, the selenium. Let's get those nutrients back to where they should be. And then at that point, let's try to start adding more of the complex foods to see how your body does with those foods then after you've restored your nutrients, okay? And most of the time, you don't even need enzymes at that point because you have the minerals now that make your body, that allow your body to create these enzymes on their own, right? And now you're eating mostly foods that are easier to digest. You're not eating the foods that are all complex, dense proteins, things like that. And you're smarter now, right? And you learn how to live with this situation and be symptom-free, all right? You know, the goal, healthy isn't being able to go back to the things that you used to do. Healthy is learning from the mistakes you made and being able to make the right choices, right? And this is a common issue with people who have enzyme deficiencies. They think that they just want to go back to eating the things. They just want to go back to doing the things they did before, not realizing that there was actually damage done that led to this enzyme deficiency and that there's going to be a repair process and that you can heal. But the goal is not to heal and go back to the things that got you sick. The goal is to heal and learn how to live a new healthy life where you start to be able to maintain your health and balance your health on a daily basis and be able to go ahead and feed into this direction, this trajectory towards perfect health and towards a symptom-free life. You know, that's the point. You want to be able to learn from your mistakes and make changes and live a new life, have new behaviors. That's the point of the illness in the first place, is to learn how to live a healthier life. It's not some bad luck. It's not some, you know, some hex on you or anything like that. It's actually your higher power trying to get your attention, to try to get you to live your life differently, to be able to have a more fulfilling and happy life in the long run. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. You go to my website, endsickness.org. I have hundreds of videos, hundreds of articles on there teaching you how to heal yourself out here in nature. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.